Hello everybody and welcome to the Whiskey Dictionary. Today I'm going to be talking to you about the Highland Park 12. Now, back in September of 2016, I covered the Highland Park 18. It was probably like in my first 10 videos or somewhere really early, long before I had any decent gear. So I do encourage you to go check it out because there's some cool content there, especially the story of Magnus Juson. However, forgive the bad lighting and the bad audio. I was on vacation, didn't have everything I needed, but I also still think I used to suck. So now back to the 12 here. Now the 12, if you've been paying any attention to Highland Park over the last few years, specifically around 2017 or so, you've noticed that they've changed their branding and their style of bottles and pretty much everything about themselves to really glom onto this concept of Vikings. Now, as far as things that you can use as your inspiration for your whiskey, Vikings are pretty high on the cool list. I mean, there's some really lame ones out there. I love Balcones, but they literally named their bourbon after the ground. I mean, that's pretty lame. So Vikings are cool. But just to show you, this is the new style of bottle. This is the 15, but it's pretty much the same thing. It just used to be red for the 12. So they've changed their labeling quite a bit. All right, so this is called Viking Honor, and it's the exact same kind of the exact same whiskey that used to be in the bottles of 12. It literally just is new branding. So don't be concerned that you missed out. Now, let's get into the nosing and the tasting. While I'm pouring, it's important to tell you that about 20% of this whiskey spends its time in brand new sherry, first fill sherry casks. The other 80% just ex-sherry casks of varying age. So presumably you would get some sherry on the nose here. Now, spoiler alert, you don't. Almost not at all. But let's go ahead and give this a nose. Now, I do like the nose on this whiskey. I actually like it a lot. It's got this quality that I would call, the two words I would use to describe it are like full and heavy. It really just, think of like a Speyside that would be like a 40% ABV Speyside, something with like usually it would have like a fruitiness to it, but it would be kind of like a crispness. This is kind of the opposite. It's just, it lingers, it's heavy, it's good. It's a good thing. But anyway, some of the other smells that you're getting in here. Slight bit of salt, a little bit of creaminess, which is pretty nice. A little graininess, but it's not unwelcome. It's not too much. So you guys that have watched me for a while know that an overly grainy nose, it just doesn't do it for me. It might do it for you, but this is very slightly grainy. Honey's a big one. There's a little bit of grassiness in there as well. Flowers, apples, there's a lot going on. Pears, although you usually get apples and pears together. And maybe a little tiny hint of smoke. I'm gonna have to like make room for all those icons. All right, anyway, let's go ahead and take a taste. Cheers. So, that fullness maintains. This is a solid body whiskey. It's very viscous. This one's 43%. In the EU, I believe it's only 40%. So very small. But for 43%, this is full-bodied in what I would expect more from like a 50%. So interesting to know. There's a little bit more peat on the taste than there was in the nose. So that's kind of where this comes out. And there's a little bit of that saltiness as well. All the fruit notes disappear, which is very strange. If the nose obviously is probably indicative of the, what do you call it? It would be a characteristic of the sherry casks, but the taste completely misses it, which is a little strange. Anyway, much less complex, but it's a little sweet as well. So the taste itself is kind of far less complex than the nose, but it's almost a letdown after nosing it, but the taste itself is good. If that makes any sense. It's just not complex. So when I taste this, maybe this is my own experience talking, I think of this as like what I expect a Scotch to taste like. Obviously there's different regions. So when I think of this area, this is what I expect a whiskey to taste like. But variety is a thing. So I think I'm wrong. Don't go with me there. All right. Overall, not much negative stuff comes to mind. It's a tried and true. Highland Park 12 is a great gift. Excuse me. I believe it comes to about $45. You can't really beat that. 45 bucks is pretty great for any Scotch, especially of this quality. So I give this a very solid buy it, and I think you should get your hands on this whiskey. So I'll see you next time on the next Whiskey Dictionary. Cheers.